Do you like sewing clothes, but you hate math? It's just not your friend? Well, I have a handy dandy trick that I like to use all the time. It makes it super easy, and it's with something you already have. I call it measuring tape math, and it's so easy, you're never gonna wanna do math again. Even if you happen to like math, you might still find this cheater method the way to go. So for today's 5th video coming from the vault, we are sharing about measuring tape math. Hey, welcome back to Tricky Thursday. I'm your girl Trisha, owner of Creative Costume Academy, where I want to show you the easy and fun way to start learning pattern making and using it right away. Today we're going to be talking about measuring tape math, because I know math is something that a lot of us struggle with, but there's easy ways to use your measuring tape where you don't actually have to do math all the time. The first thing I want to mention is I love really long measuring tapes, not only for making it really easy to measure something, I'm not running out of measuring tape, but also it allows me to do higher and higher math, right? So I can get bigger numbers and use this tool to its greatest advantage. The second thing I want to point out about my measuring tape that I love, they're not all made this way, but I think it's a really good thing to have, is I have inches on one side and I have centimeters on the other side. So this comes in really handy whether you use the metric system or the imperial system. A lot of times when I was working for big theatrical productions and we would have clients that would come in from Canada or Europe, and it would be much easier for them to do measurements in centimeters. So I could just go down, oh, your wrist is, that would be a big wrist. If your wrist is 20 centimeters, I can see that 20 on my centimeter side, hold my finger there and then turn it around and see it's really close to 8 inches. So it's a really easy way to do quick conversions using your measuring tape if you have both the centimeters and the inches. I want to show you a couple of more things, but I'm going to go over the table so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So let's go. I have talked about this in other Tricky Thursdays, but if you're measuring a pattern to double check your bust or your waist level, you can use your measuring tape and you're going to see that this is only half of the body. This is my front and this is my back, and you would cut the double, this on a fold and the second of that. So when you're measuring, you can measure from the front. I'm going to make sure my side seams are together and I go all the way to the center back. So that equals 21.5 for this pattern. And I would need to double that to make sure that I knew the full circumference of the body. Yes, I could do math, but why do math when you can just fold it in half and go all the way to the end of your tape and flip it over? And it's 43 is double of 21.5. So that's a really simple way to get a full measurement of a pattern if you're working like that. And if you have 43, but what you really need is 38, let's say, you could take 43 and subtract 38, or you can do this really simple counting. Everybody can count, right? If I have 43 and I want to get to 38, 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches is the difference between what I have on this pattern and what I need to get to. So if I have 5 inches that I need to figure out, well, when I make adjustments, I need to know how much to add to each side seam so that will get rid or take away from each side seam so that I know I'll end up with 38. So if I want to know half of 5, I can just fold this measuring tape in half, and half of 5 is 2.5. Simple math, just using the measuring tape. If I want to know what a quarter of 5 is, so I folded it in half already, found that it was 2.5. Then if I want half of 2.5, which would be a quarter of 5, I just fold it in half again. and that gives me 1¼ And so I did all of that math. 1¼ is 1/4 of 5. So if I want to decrease this bust by 5 inches total, I could take off 1¼ inch of each side seam, and that would total 5 inches. And I did all that math with my measuring tape. Super easy.